Retail sales are cooling, past numbers are being revised downward, and consumer credit is weakening fast. Is this a sign of a struggling private economy? We break down what's really happening with consumer spending, and at the end, we'll reveal a surprising trend that shows just how much financial stress Americans are under. Stay tuned.
Gary, starting with thing number one, we're talking some cooling retail sales, downward revisions, weakening credit, consumer credit. You've been saying this for a year. Productive private market economy is actually weak. The bifurcated economies we've talked about in the past. Gary, thing number one, lower than expected retail sales and downward revisions. What do we need to know?
Yeah, Rob, as you said, at Deep Knowledge Investing, we've been talking, we're into year two of talking about weakness in the private market economy, about talking about a bifurcated economy where a limited number of wealthy people and people attached to the government are doing well, but most Americans are struggling. That means the aggregate overall numbers look good, but most Americans are having a bit of a rough time. We got more evidence of that this past week. The retail sales number for February came in at 0.2%. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, people were looking for a 0.7% increase. So that's a pretty big miss. Making things even worse, the January number, which was already bad at a 0.9% decrease, got revised down to a 1.2% decline, making all of this even worse. The annual number, so the change versus last month was down, was up 0.2% versus the 0.7 expected. But the annual number versus February the year before was up 3.1%. Okay, how is that possible? What that means is that we had a lot of inflation, and because we had all of that inflation, people had to spend more, the sales were up. People have now run down the balances in their checking account and their savings account. They've run low on savings. They're maxing out their credit cards. Delinquencies are up. And so they're at a point now where they can't afford these inflation ballooned numbers, and they're cutting spending. So that's what's happening. The worst case scenario is where the annual numbers are up and the monthly numbers are down. What that means is we've had inflation and a weakening consumer. That's not what you want to see.
Gary, it's been several months now. We've seen weaker sales numbers. We saw it leading up to the holidays, through the holidays. I mean, what conclusions are you kind of drawing from these continuous weak numbers?
So a couple of things, Rob. One, as we've said, the productive private economy is suffering. The only reason our sales numbers and GDP numbers don't look horrible is because we have huge amounts of government stimulus, wasteful money sloshing into the economy, and that masks these symptoms. As we were saying earlier, people have run down the balances in their savings accounts, in their checking accounts. Credit usage is at all-time highs. Credit delinquencies, so people who have run up balances on their credit cards and now are at a point where they're not paying their bills, that's up really big. One other thing we've talked about a lot is spending on necessities is up because of inflation. Again, they can keep telling us food inflation is 1 or 2%. My response is, great. You find me somebody who will tell us that in the last year, their grocery bill is only up 1%. But spending on discretionary items are taking the hit. And in fact, just as a weird example, because I'm going to be traveling for a year, I'm buying some new electronics myself. I bought a brand new laptop. The model's just out. Guess what, Rob? It's already on sale. None of this is a sign of strong discretionary sales.
Gary, we also saw Gen Z financing a burrito. It's kind of the point we made in the 5 things, meaning there's actually these afterpays, or I think it was DoorDash even released the ability to pay for, your Taco Bell or your Chipotle burrito in installments. I mean, how scary is that? Or is this just a micro loan, new economy that's starting to form here? What does that mean?
Yeah, so DoorDash is allowing consumers to finance their food delivery orders. I think it's reasonable to conclude that there is increasing stress in the system if people are financing a burrito. I have two thoughts that I want to pass on to Deep Knowledge Investing viewers. One is if your finances are in such bad shape that you are financing your DoorDash delivery, don't do it. Then don't order out and find a cheaper way. And, let's do everything we can together to get you into a better place financially, but please do not finance your DoorDash deliveries. The other thing is, for those of you who remember 2008, it was the collateralized debt obligations, the groups of loans that were securitized and sold. That's what created the problem. My thinking on this is that if DoorDash were to collateralize bonds backed by Chipotle burritos, but specifically the ones where the customers order guacamole because that's an extra charge, that's got to be like a AAA rated credit. So we would buy the collateralized bonds backed by the Chipotle burritos if they order the guacamole.